Hello again, Zimbabwe. I am Adrian Lilo.
And this is Natasha Spindier.
And we're here to present the Sunday News Provincial Roundup. This week, we start with the story of synchronicity. The government has commissioned 35,000 fish ponds, 35,000 boreholes, for 35,000 villages. Government speeds up the process of moving the presidential input scheme to farmers countrywide in order for them to plant in time.
And actually, the government has set aside a combined total of 100,000 tons of compound defertilizers, 8,000 tons of seed maize, and 3,000 tons of small grain crops.
And so far, have moved more than 40,000 tons of nasal dressing fertilizers, 5,000 tons of maize, and 1,000 tons of small grain seeds to farmers in the respective ecological regions. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Land, Agriculture and Fisheries, Water and Rural Settlement, Obechiri, said they were impressed with the distribution scheme and expressed disappointment in reports of abuse of inputs by beneficiaries. He added that the government would legally deal with these culprits. The
government also has plans to promote the fish industry by setting up 35,000 fish ponds in 35,000 villages in the country in pursuit of rural industrial agenda.
She added that 9,600 schools around the country will each have fish ponds for fish farming to enhance nutrition and skills development and assist schools to raise funds through the selling of fish.
Moving on to the second story, we're talking about a primary school that celebrates 100 years. That is celebrating 100 years.
But the primary school in Ward 18 celebrated 100 years of existence with the commissioning of an accommodation block for teachers and the handling of over 5,000 litre tank of water by UNICEF. Shout out to UNICEF. The school, which has an enrollment of 630 students, was founded by the United Congregation Churches of Southern Africa in 1923, man.
And yeah, the school has also celebrates, like, it actually boasts of outstanding achievements, like the awards, like the Secretary's Bell Awards in 1974. Oh, that's a long time ago.
And then the Secretary's Merit Award in 1997. And one of the students, Kulegani Kope, played tennis and reached the national level. The guest honor at the event, Mr. Tulani Ndlovu, encouraged young people to pursue their dreams and desist from engaging in antisocial behavior.
Oh, that's a old school, eh?
It's an old school. It's very old school. Older than your granny.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's just older than both of us, obviously.
And then our third story, government is to roll out rural housing designs. Government is to roll out a housing architectural transformation program in the country's 8 rural provinces as it moves to standardize rural housing and ensure that communities are not left behind in the development of quality infrastructure. Which one is our kupu about?
And this is in line with the integrated rural development strategy to ensure that each of the 35,000 villages in the country have access to clean and safe drinking water. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities, Theodas Chinyanga, said his ministry secured 15 rural design models which are ready for implementation throughout 8 provinces. Chinyanga said that the government would financially assist some people in the communities to ensure that no one is left behind.
Engineer Chinyanga added that the ministry is aiming to bridge the gap between urban and rural homes by modernizing the rural areas so as to bring numerous benefits to both individuals and the overall development of rural communities.
So our fourth story is actually a very interesting one because Bulawayo remains an investment destination of choice. A number of companies in Egypt have expressed their desire to invest in different sectors in Bulawayo at the just ended 26th Arab African Investment International Cooperation Conference.
Minister of State for Bulawayo, Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Comrade Judith Mube, implored all stakeholders not to allow the death of Bulawayo and make it a marketable place. Minister Mube added that they had a fruitful discussion with investors at the conference, and she's happy that they are eager to come to Zimbabwe.
Some of the investors were actually interested in cement production, home appliances, and low-cost housing. Minister Mube said the investment opportunities are a starting point to reawaken Zimbabwe's sleeping giant and enable it to return to its former glory. Moving on,
Bulawayo City Council will embark on the priority projects to rehabilitate Vundu Borombo Stochio flats that have long been condemned as unfit for human habitation. For Vundu, the BCC has budgeted $350,000 and $250,000 for Borombo and an additional $220,000 for Stochio. Other projects that the council intends to work on are the construction of Kuzwayo Primary, completion of the Barberfield Stadium, construction of a clinic in Mkanini, and in total, the local authority is seeking 33.4 million as next year's devolution funds in order to carry out these projects.
Okay, the government has since 2019 allocated devolution funds to be shared among the 10 provinces based on a number of different factors such as poverty levels in rural districts, quality of infrastructure, and size of the population. President Mnangagwa reiterated the importance of devolution and decentralization in the country as the key to continued development of Zimbabwe, thus improving the lives of the ordinary people.
Matt South loses 5,000 plus cattle in 3 years. More than 5,000 cattle have died from the January disease. The scientific name is theilerosis. In Matabeleland South, over the past years, with efforts being made to contain it and ensure that the national herd is protected, Dr. Mdlongwa said 3 districts, namely Insinza, Mzimane, and Bulilima, were affected by January disease in Matabeleland South. He said that the disease was first diagnosed in 2021 at Lancaster Farm in Insinza, and the spread to other neighboring areas which were reluctant in dipping their cattle.
This resulted in loss of large numbers of cattle in Lancaster. Due to illegal livestock movements, the disease spread throughout Guatemala plots to neighboring communal and A1 areas of Insinza North. Measures are being put by the government throughout the veterinary services, various interventions that include increased supply of acaricide, enforcement of the 554 dipping regime, blitz tick grease distribution and trainings on application, awareness campaigns, quarantine of affected areas, and the rehabilitation of dip tanks. Dr. Mdlongwa encouraged farmers to dip their cows religiously as to control and eventually destroy the disease.
Kasambezi border post enhances Zim-Zambia relations. The opening of the Kasambezi border post in Pinga district has strengthened the relations between Zimbabwe and Zambia. The border, which links Pinga to Zambia's Mamba town, will enhance trade and business as well as the social interactions between the Badonga communities along the Zambezi River. Plans are already underway to improve and expand the border post owing to the increased traffic being recorded monthly. Since the opening of the border, the Badonga from both countries can now cross the border freely for social visits and business.
Zimbabwe's Department of Immigration Chief Director Ms. Respect Gono said the border post has potential of facilitating trade and economic integration with other SADC countries. She added that the government's commitment to establish the Kasambezi border post shows that it's willing to ensure safe, orderly, and regular migration for travelers and the community at large.
Okay, Zimbabwe, that's the end of our program. We will see you next week.
Bye.